Okay, so the next step on this one is to draw two or three other curves, and an easy way to make sure that they're kind of symmetrical or the same as the first one we've created is to simply work with the curve menu and do a clone or a mirror clone. Let me start with the mirror clone. First of all, you want to make sure that the curve is currently selected. If that's not the case, let's say if we, for instance, we have selected out of the object here, right? So you select the object, which means you need to find the curve and then make sure if it's orange or if it's blue, select it again so that it's not just selecting the object but selecting the curve. Now there's only one curve, so it will likely just select that. Now that you have that curve selected, you can go to the curve and say mirror clone, and it will now give you a way to define that clone. One thing you could do is move it and just move it to the side, and with that it will do something really weird. We don't want that. What we do want is to rotate it. And so we select the rotate tool and go to the rotation point and rotate it around until we have it switch to the other side. It doesn't have to be totally precise. It's nice to have it in a kind of in a vertical line up there. We can still use the move tool also to move it down a little bit or adjust it. And while this is selected, now we have two curves, but we also want one going sideways. So I will do the same thing again and say let's this time perhaps do a clone and go back to the rotate tool here, and then this time I'm going to rotate it back 90 degrees, so we have it just about like this. Alright, and now I'm going to look at the object and say I would like to have this object be symmetrical. And so in the object menu I can do a symmetrical clone and local mirror. You could probably just work with local mirror. I'm not quite sure what the difference between the two is going to be, but hey, this looks good, so let's work with that. So that's already a good way to start with this, because now at this time, when you look here, you have a couple of construction curves you can work with, and you can of course go to the widget move tool and perhaps double click here on the, or right click rather, on the upper curve in order to adjust that, right? Maybe if you select the side curve there, you can grab the front point and move that to the back, and so that way you see the mouth opening and the lips kind of taking shapes. If you look at full view here and perhaps move this a little bit to the side, you can make the head go wider in the front, and that's basically where it starts getting really interesting, because you have a lot of construction curves you can work with. You can change the resolution for more detail. And that's a good start. Now here we have really a lot more control over that shape. Always keep in mind when you use the widget move tool or many of the other modification tools that when you see this control here for the shape, what that lets you do is contain the effect of it to a very wide range or to a very narrow range. If you make it a very narrow range, like so, and also reduce the scale or the scope of it. For instance, when you see here, you can create tiny little deformations, tiny little shape changes that will only affect the immediate area around here. Whereas if you go to a wider range, and even if you keep it small in scope, it will have kind of a block effect. It will have a whole group of points selected and then moved or rotated or whatever it is that you're doing. If you set the scale really wide and you keep this something like that, you can have almost the entire curve move with it.